Hey, friend. Welcome to Marketing Without Social. This is the podcast for Christian women entrepreneurs who are done building their business on borrowed ground. I'm Jan Touchberry. I'm a web designer and brand strategist, and I have spent years helping Christian women entrepreneurs build online homes that actually work for them, like websites and brands, content ecosystems that bring in clients without requiring you to perform for an algorithm every single day. Can I get an amen? And this podcast, it's the living proof of that strategy. You found the show without me posting a single Instagram reel to get you here. That is not an accident. That is the whole point. So if you are tired of chasing the algorithm, if you've ever posted something and then spent the next hour nervously refreshing to see if anybody cared, if you've wondered whether it's even possible to build a real business without being glued to social media, you, my friend, are in the exact right place. So let's get into the episode, shall we? Okay, so before we dive into the meat of the thing, I want to take a minute and talk about this show, where it came from, because some of you may be regular listeners and wondering if you clicked on the wrong podcast right now. If you are a Her Faith at Work listener, hey friend, welcome back. I am so glad that you're still here. You may have noticed that some things changed around here, like the name. Yes, like there's no intro. What's up with that? Well, that's another strategy that I'm trying, so you can let me know if you like it or not having to listen to an intro. So for those of you who are brand new, maybe because of the name change and it piqued your curiosity, welcome to you too. You are going to want to go back and binge some stuff because there's some really good content. So let me tell you a little story. Here's what happened, okay? Her Faith at Work was a show that birthed almost 2.5 years ago about faith and business. Love doing it. I love it. It started as one thing, and like so many things do, it grew over time into what it is today. And I kept coming back to this one thing over and over and over again. This tension that so many of the women that I work with are living every single day. They're talented, they're called, they have something very real to offer, and they're exhausted, trying to keep up with the ever elusive algorithm. So the show, I would say, is sharpening, right? Just a slight pivot, okay? Because we've been talking about a lot of this stuff for over a year. The faith is still there. It's always going to be front and center because that's who I am. And now we're just getting a little bit more specific. The name matches the content that I've been putting out for probably the last 12 months. We're talking about how to market your business without being tethered to social media, all of that through a faith lens. Because if Jesus is not central to how we're running and marketing our businesses, sister, we are doing something wrong as believers. And I believe that to the very core of my being. So I want to be clear about something right up front because I know how this can sound, okay? This is not an anti-technology show. This is not an anti-connection show. If you know me, you know that that's not where I'm coming from. That's not my heart. But what I am going to tell you is this. There is a difference between choosing to use a tool and feeling like you can't survive without it. And for too many Christian women entrepreneurs, right now, social media has gone from tool to more of a tyrant. And the word I want you to sit with in all of this is without, okay? I'm not saying less social. I'm not saying social media optional. I'm teaching the without piece. And that is a decision. And it's a decision that I didn't make lightly. I know that you, if you're in the chaos of making that decision, are not taking it lightly. Anybody who's made that jump has not taken it lightly, right? I want this show to give you a framework, strategies, tools, and the permission to have a real practical strategy to be able to make that decision with confidence. So maybe you're one of those people who are going to fall into the social optional or social less categories. That's totally fine. Don't leave. You can still listen because I promise you there's going to be a ton of value here for you too. But I think that there is a lie that entrepreneurs believe, or a lot of us. I believed it too for a long time. And it's the one that says, if I stop posting, I'm going to stop existing. People are going to forget about me. And frankly, we're just here to dismantle that. And I'll just say it again because it feels a little wild to me. You found this podcast without me posting on social media. So that, friend, means that it works. The strategy that I'm going to teach you on this show, I'm living it and it's working. But before we get into how to build it, I want to talk to you a little bit about why it matters so much. I mean, like beyond the marketing strategy piece, because what social media is doing to us as humans goes a lot deeper than our content calendars. And I think we're finally, hopefully, starting to wake up to that fact, okay? I want you to raise your hand, metaphorically speaking, obviously. Raise your hand or your heart. Have you ever picked up your phone to check one specific thing and then put it back down 20 minutes later with absolutely no memory of why you actually picked it up in the first place? Yeah, me too. So it's probably happened more times than I want to admit. And this is the thing, right? The problem is not you. It's not a willpower problem. It's a design problem. Social media platforms are not built for connection. I think they used to be. I think they started out to genuinely connect humanity, but they have morphed, and they have morphed into something that is changing us. They are built for compulsion, and that's not an accident. There is something called the variable ratio reinforcement. It is actually a term from behavioral psychology. I find this all fascinating. And it describes what happens when a reward comes unpredictably. You don't know when the like is coming. You don't know when somebody's going to leave a comment or when a post is going to take off. So you keep checking. You keep pulling the lever. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. And it's built right into every platform that you're on. These companies that own the social media platforms, they have entire teams of behavioral scientists whose literal job is to keep you scrolling longer. And they are very, very good at their jobs. I think for us as entrepreneurs, this creates something researchers call ambient anxiety. It's that low-grade, constant hum of stress that comes from feeling like you always have to be on. You always need to be posting. You always need to be engaging. You always need to be performing. And every new post becomes a performance review, whether we realize it or not. You're putting something out there and then you wait. Did it land? Are people engaging? Did I say something weird? Did I offend somebody? And that feedback loop doesn't just mess with your marketing strategy, it messes with your nervous system. And then there's our bodies. Let's talk about blue light from screens for a second. It suppresses melatonin. If you don't know that by now, I feel like some people are living under rocks, right? The hormone, it's just the hormone that helps you sleep, y'all. Every time you get a notification, your cortisol, your stress hormone spikes. Your body is literally paying a tax for your content strategy. I'm going to say that again. Your body is literally paying a tax for your content strategy by all that social and the constant connection is doing with us. I'm going to throw some numbers at you guys because you know I'm a data girl. And y'all, these are real validated statistics, okay? I look these up. I've done the research. So in 2025, the average Instagram post reached 3.5% of your followers. 3.5%. On Facebook, it's even lower, 1.65. That means if you have 1,000 followers doing very simple math and you pour your heart out into a post, roughly 17 people see it organically. You are literally working for an audience that mostly isn't even seeing the work. How does that make sense? I am a super analytical person and I just could not justify it anymore. My brain says, no, it doesn't make sense. And yet, the average person spends over 2 hours a day on social media. That's alarming. 15 hours a week is what that equals. Almost an entire waking day every single week is spent on social. Unless your literal job is social media, that is an alarming statistic. Here's another one. Pew Research study from 2025 found that 45% of U.S. teens say that they spend too much time on social media. That was shocking to me. 45% of teens, okay, not researchers, not parents, the actual teenagers themselves are saying it's too much. And that percent is up it's up from 36%, which was just a few years ago. So the teens are getting it. I mean, we know, right? And yet here we are, building our businesses on top of this addiction. And just for good measure, I'm going to throw one more at you because this one really will smack you between the eyes. In 2024, a study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that when participants reduced their social media use to just 30 minutes a day, their depression symptoms decreased significantly in just 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That is not nothing, y'all. With the epidemic we're experiencing of depression and anxiety, I mean, I can tell you that I've experienced it myself. While I wouldn't say that I struggle with depression, I know for a fact that my anxiety has decreased since I've been off social. Scripture tells us in Proverbs 4:23 to guard our hearts above all else because everything we do flows out of that. And I think for a lot of Christian women entrepreneurs, and honestly for me, social media has become one of the hardest things to guard my heart against. Not because it's evil, but because it is consuming by design. It was designed for us to consume, and we are not designed to be consumed by it. Our brains are not designed to constantly be on, and our hearts were not designed to carry the weight of the world that we now have complete access to. So if the platform is working against your attention, your peace, your time, your sleep, your sense of worth, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we building our businesses on top of it? And more importantly, what does it look like to build somewhere else? So this is where I want to ask you to take a deep breath with me because I know that section may have felt a little heavy. It was a lot, but I think it's important for us to know. But once we know, we're responsible for it, right? Once we know we have the knowledge, now we're responsible for what we do with that knowledge. And I don't want you to walk away feeling that, from this episode, feeling hopeless about where you've been or where you're at now. I want you to feel genuinely excited about where this podcast hopefully is going to take you. Because marketing without social media is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things, the things that you own, the things that are going to compound, the things that keep working when you step away from your desk. So I'm going to take just a minute and walk you through the 4 pillars that we're going to build on the show. Most of our episodes will deal with one of these in some way, shape, or form. So pillar number 1, we're going to talk about your email list. Your email list is the only marketing asset that you truly own. No algorithm decides who sees your message. No platform can change the rules overnight and wipe out your reach. No one can deplatform you from your own list. When you send an email to somebody on your list, it lands in their inbox. Well, sometimes spam, but mostly in their inbox, right? And even if it lands in their spam, it's not 3.5% of inboxes that are getting your email, right? It lands in their inbox. And that is a fundamentally different relationship than a social media follower has with you. We're going to talk about how to build a list without social media, through your website, through your podcast, through SEO, through collaborations and referral strategies. We're going to run the gamut. We're going to cover it all. Okay, pillar number 2. We're going to talk about your website. For women building a business without social media, your website is your primary marketing engine. It's your 24/7 sales rep, if you will. It is the place where people land when they Google the problem you solve, and that is where they decide whether they trust you enough to reach out to have you help them solve it. Okay? I build websites for a living. That's what I do. And I will tell you honestly, a well-built, well-optimized website can bring you clients for years, without you doing one single thing more. We're going to talk about SEO basics that don't require a marketing degree. We're going to talk about how to talk about website copy or write website copy that actually converts. And we're going to talk about how to turn visitors to your website into subscribers and then eventually clients. Okay. Pillar number 3, your podcast. Okay. You're literally listening to this one in real time, so I don't have to sell you on podcasting. You get it. But here's what I want you to understand about audio as a medium. It is uniquely intimate. People listening to podcasts usually do it while they're driving, while they're walking, while they're folding laundry. You're literally in someone's ears and they have invited you there. You're with them in their everyday life in a way that a static Instagram post just can't be. And that builds a trust scale that's really, really hard to replicate any other way. And we're going to talk about how to use a podcast to build your list, to attract your ideal clients, to create content that works long after you've hit the publish button, okay? And then last but not least, we're going to talk about SEO and long-form content. This is the one that I call the compound interest of marketing. A blog post that you write today can rank on Google and bring you clients 2 years from now. A podcast episode that you record this week can keep showing up in search results indefinitely. A social media post, its lifespan is relatively short, like 24 to 48 hours if you're lucky. And that's being super generous, okay? I have a friend who is still making money from a blog post that she posted over 4 years ago. And she hasn't touched it since she posted it. So it's not like she's constantly updating it. It's just still working for her. So we're going to talk about how to create content that actually compounds, that gets better and more valuable over time, not worse. So here's what I love most about all of this. And this is the part that feels very personal to me, okay? I work at a church. I have a family. I get it. I understand what it means to have seasons where everything in your life is at capacity. Easter, Christmas, major events, life in general. And you just have nothing left over for your business. You're tapped. I need, personally, a marketing strategy that does not require me to show up every day for it to work. Owned media, friend, it does that. It doesn't disappear when you rest. It keeps running when life calls you away. And that is not laziness, that's wisdom. That is building something that's sustainable. It's like Proverbs 31 woman energy, y'all. So I want you to know that I practice what I preach, okay? I have built my website design and branding business almost entirely on owned media. This podcast, my email list, my website, referrals from a very intentional, ever-growing community that I absolutely love. I'm not teaching things that I am pulling out of thin air. I'm teaching you the exact strategy that I've used to attract clients, fill my roster, and build a business that I actually feel really good about. Good about what's happening in the business, good about who I'm helping, good about the problems that I'm solving, and good about the work-life balance that I'm able to strike because of it. And I want to show you that it's not only possible, it is more sustainable, more peaceful, and honestly, it can be more effective than the alternative. Because when the algorithm changes, and it always changes, your owned channels keep going, and you can keep going. I'm really glad you're here for this. Whether you found the show through a friend, through a search, through a recommendation, however you got here, welcome. This community is going to be something special, and I'm super excited to go forward. So here's what I want you to do before you close out the episode. First, hit subscribe or follow if you haven't already done that, wherever you're listening, okay? We have so much good stuff coming, and I don't want you to miss it. Second, if today's episode resonated with you in some way, I would love for you to share it with one friend, one other Christian woman entrepreneur who needs to hear this. Just one. Just send her a little text with a link. And third, if you've been thinking about what it would look like to finally have a website that works as hard as you do, I would love to talk. You can find me at my website, jantouchberry.com. And that's where you can learn more about my web design and branding services. And if it feels like a good fit, let's book a discovery call, okay? Because I'm booking now for projects over the summer. All right, y'all, that's a wrap of episode 1 of Marketing Without Social. I feel very accomplished right now. I hope it gave you something to think about. And more than that, I hope it gave you a little hope, maybe a light at the end of your tunnel. So now go build something that you own. And I'll see you next week.